In our last video, we were having a great time exploring Camden Park when we stumbled upon the corpse of a young woman. She looks recently deceased. She's wearing some sort of strange getup, and she was carrying a damaged holotape.
Gangs are on the move. We must, The order cannot... Riverside Manor is... The raiders are closing in.
The only clear words we get from the holotape are the words Riverside Manor. Upon looting the unique worn veil on her inventory, we begin the quest into the mystery. A young woman, a cryptic message. Who was she? And what was she fighting for? To uncover the answers to these questions, we need to find Riverside Manor. We find Riverside Manor by first traveling to the ruins of Charleston. From Charleston, if we take Highway 87 east, we eventually stumble upon 3 Pulaski preservation shelters.
Pulaski, nuclear protection on a budget.
However, opening each one reveals nothing. Following the road east of these shelters, we find Riverside Manor, and Scorched guard the exterior. Heading up the stairs to the front door, we can loot 1 ammo crate and then head inside. We arrive at a grand entry. We see a staircase leading to the 2nd floor and a large painted portrait hanging on the wall. There are many doors in this room, and Scorched. We'll start by exploring west. This was a lounge. We see big poofy chairs and couches against the wall, a privacy screen against a wall, oddly enough, a matching one in the northwestern corner next to an upright piano. There we go. They should know we're here now. At the northeastern corner of the lounge, we find a doorway into a northern room. We can take care of a few Scorched in here. We see a door to the west leading to the hallway. This was a TV room. There's a beautiful new Fallout 76 cabinet TV against the wall, but otherwise it's empty, so moving north through the door, we can enter the hallway. Here we find a back door to the Riverside Manor garage. This garage can also be accessed from the outside by opening a door next to a closed garage door. Inside we have to kill some mole rats, and we find the door leading back into Riverside Manor. This is the door we just found from the inside. The garage is pretty tiny. We find the ruin of 1 car here, a couple of containers, a decent amount of oil, 1 first aid box on a shelf, and a locked tool case. Back inside, moving east from the garage door, we find a spiral staircase to the north leading to the 2nd floor. We'll skip this for now and go upstairs later. Moving east leads to a parlor, but it's in ruins. The wallpaper is peeling, the furniture is all tipped over. There's a grand fireplace to the north with a ship on top of it, and an opening to another hallway. This leads to a laundry room to the west, where we find a couple of containers, and a door leading outside to the back patio. If we approach the back patio from the outside, we have to be careful not to trip a tripwire. We find this tripwire attached to a Tesla trap, hanging from the roof by the door. Here we also find mole rats. Once the trap is expended, on the porch we find some dirty water, a lunchbox, and a duffel bag. There is also a tripwire just outside the door leading back inside, so we have to be careful if we approach from either location. Back inside the manor, we can move south through a door back into the entryway with the staircase, but instead of going up, we can turn immediately east. Here we find a hallway leading to a large room with more Scorched. Creeping inside, we can try to snipe some. The Scorched are dead, we can move on in. We find more completely unique oil paintings, this time of a balding man with a big beard and a younger woman in a white dress wearing a crown. Ooh. Right, okay, stay focused. There are even more upstairs. We find ourselves in the billiard room. We see the pool table against the wall to the east, next to a staircase leading upstairs. Moving south, we find a hallway that leads outside to another patio. This patio is close to the main door. We don't find much outside. A big stack of wood, some mole rats, benches, and a seating area with the Nuka-Cola on top. Back inside and turning around, we can move west on the hallway and then south into a kitchen. Here we find a skill level 2 locked door. I didn't have the skill necessary to pick it at the time, but when I came back later, we just find a storage closet. There are a couple of ruined shelves, a scorched, a cooler, some scrap, and a refrigerator. Next to this is an old-timey phone, non-functional sadly. We find some fruit and vegetables, a lunch pail, but otherwise the kitchen is empty. Moving west from the kitchen, we find a bathroom across the hall, chems in a mirror. Out of the bathroom and south down the hall leads to the formal dining room. We find headless busts on a cabinet beneath an oil painting of a beautiful ship, an image we should remember from Fallout 4. Guess this was a popular painting for the upper class to have in their houses in the Fallout universe. The chandelier has crashed to the ground, splitting the table in two. In the northwestern corner, we find a closet with light bulbs and a little bit of steel. And heading out the western door brings us back to the entrance. We've completed a loop of the entire first floor. Now, we must travel upstairs. On the top floor, we can turn left to kill a scorched. The hallway also goes east behind us. Let's go west for now, but before we get very far, we bump into even more scorched. This hallway connects to many rooms, but the room we entered to kill the scorched appears to be a master bedroom. And the furnishings on this upper floor are in a much better state of preservation. We'll explore the room in a counterclockwise fashion. In the southeastern corner, we find a dresser upon which is a cap stash, a 10mm pistol, and some .45 rounds. The bed is on an upper platform. All the sheets are missing. There are empty bookshelves against the wall at the foot of the bed, and then a door to the west leading to the private bath. We can loot chems in the mirror above the sink, and then northwest, we find a towel room. Inside, an end-of-dungeon steamer trunk and a skill 3 locked floor safe with some bobby pins on the ground beneath it. I had to come back much later to pick it, and ultimately was disappointed by what I found. On the north side of the bathroom is the toilet closet. Here we just find some rolls of toilet paper and a plunger. With the master bedroom explored, we can head back to the hallway. We'll continue by heading west down the hallway. This path opens up into a completely destroyed room. It looks like another entrance, but it's been badly damaged. If we creep along the edge of this floor, we find a small desk with a terminal on top. This is Olivia's terminal, but we can't access it, and we can't hack it. It requires a key. Hopping down to this bottom floor, it almost looks like this entire room has been burned by fire. A huge rubble pile on the ground, a ruined kitchen at the back of the room, and another door leading back out to Appalachia. Outside this door, we see that the burned room appears to be its own little building, only attached to the main manor by that hallway that goes over the driveway. But this is a dead end, so heading back up the stairs, we can retrace our steps back east down the hallway. Here we find a couple boxes of ammunition and an ammo canister on the other side of an overturned table we missed earlier. At the end of the hallway, we can turn north. This puts us out at the top of that spiral staircase we discovered on the bottom floor. At the bottom of the staircase, we just find a curio cabinet and nothing but boxes and crates at the top. So with the west explored, we now have to turn east. Here we find a doorway with a staircase moving up. At the top of the staircase, we find a door to the Riverside Manor roof. As soon as we reach the roof, we find a skill level 2 locked floor safe. We see that there were other rooms or hallways here, but these were boarded up once exposed to the elements. We find a red toolbox, a Nuka-Cola cherry. Walking out onto the rooftop proper, we don't really find much, but turning around, we find a staircase that leads further up the roof. To the east, we find a fuel tank, and somehow a mole rat finds us up here. There's a skill level 0 lock toolbox in the northwestern corner of the roof, and then a ladder leading down to another ruined room. Rooftop access then continues across that hallway we used to explore the burned wing of the manor. We see crenellations on either side as if this were a castle, and at the very end we find a sandbag barricade on the ground overlooking a lake. Here we also find some binoculars and other ammunition. But that's it for the roof. We now need to finish the manor. So, retracing our steps, we can return to the top of the staircase leading back down into the manor. On our way down the staircase, we find an explosives crate, and this leaves one path left to explore. Doing a U-turn, we can continue east along the balcony at the top of the stairs. This leads to the balcony overlooking the billiard room we explored earlier, and we find a door to the right which appears to lead to an office. Here on a desk, we find a study terminal. Ms. Shannon Rivers, the mistress of mystery? And it all comes flashing back, exploring hubris comics in the Commonwealth and reading all of the terminals, discovering the drama between the writers and the actors at Hubris, learning about the plight of Shannon Rivers, who played the Mistress of Mystery in the Hubris Comics radio plays, who felt so sidelined when they chose to go with another actress for the Silver Shroud TV show. To learn the complete backstory on Shannon Rivers, you can watch my video on Hubris Comics in the Commonwealth by clicking here. In this terminal, we find 3 entries. In the first, Professional Calendar, June 25th, 2077, Mistress of Mystery, Season 8, Episode 16 recording, and the very next day, the Mistress of Mystery Wrap Party. This is when she was wrapping up the 8th season of the radio play. But here we see that she was assuming she would get onto the TV show, for on her calendar in the fall, we see that she was participating in a studio tour of the Silver Shroud set, complete with a cast meet, then a dress rehearsal for the 11th of October, and Season 1 was set to begin filming on November 1st. We of course know that none of this ever happened, but knowing that she was planning for it to happen tells us that she wrote this entry long before she found out that she wasn't going to be cast in the TV show. Moving on to fan mail, Batch 94. Hello Shannon, here's your latest batch of mail. You know the drill. If you want to reply to any of this, type it up and kick me the holotape. Hope you're doing well. Break a leg in Boston. Miriam Shaw, Shaw & Associates, agents. So even her agents in September thought she was still going to get on the show. Her first fan letter is titled, My Favorite Hero. Dear Miss Rivers, the Mistress of Mystery is my favorite hero. Want to know why? All the boys want to be like Grognak and run around going, Grah! And hitting things, but the mistress is smart and fast and comes up with lots of neat ideas. And anyone who tries to pick on her always loses. I bet she could beat hairy old Grognak any day. I know you aren't really her, but I bet you like her almost as much as I do. Thank you for being so great on the radio too. Love you, bye. Karen Timms, age 7. And it looks like Sharon here was a role model for young girls of America. And the next one, Eye of Ra continuity issues. Ms. Rivers, I wanted to complain about the history of the Eye of Ra as depicted in Season 7, Episode 12, The Thieves of Thebes. This episode seems to suggest that the mistress may not have possessed the eye during her second expedition to Egypt to vanquish the cult of the Unseen Seer. As I'm sure you know, in Mistress of Mystery comic 141, a flashback shows the mistress wearing the eye in a museum gala that must have occurred between the first and second expedition. The fan consensus is that she obtained the eye during the first expedition, though I personally think it was among the relics she inherited from her father, the archaeologist. Your line could be taken to mean that she didn't have it with her at the time, but it seems unlikely, since she wore it, or a similar brooch, in several panels near the beginning of the Sorcerer Plague arc, which is set only a few days later. As a longtime fan of your work, I know how important maintaining the history and continuity of the mistress's canon is to you, and I hope you will speak to the writers about being more careful with this in the future. Sincerely, Kent Conley? Good old Kent! Kent! Oh, but that's right. When we meet him in Boston, he's a ghoul. A ghoul who is a fan of the Silver Shroud, who remembers listening to the Silver Shroud radio plays as a kid. Of course, he's a pre-war ghoul. In addition to the Silver Shroud, he would have been familiar with the Mistress of Mystery. And he was a mega fan, even all the way back then. For more on Kent Conley and the Silver Shroud, you can watch my video about the Silver Shroud that I published here. Well, it's good to see an old friend from Boston here in West Virginia. P.S. Like many fans, I was dismayed by the changes to the garb of secrets introduced in the most recent issue. While I understand the difficulty of actually fighting in a full evening dress in the upcoming television show and possible feature films, the full-length dress has been a staple of the Mistress's costume since her debut. I'm planning to organize a letter-writing campaign about this, and I'd appreciate your support. P.P.S. I'm a huge fan of your work, and I'm looking forward to your appearance in the Silver Shroud show next year. Poor old Kent. What if he ever found out that the writers and producers decided not to go with Shannon Rivers, but instead to find someone younger? I bet it would have broken his heart, but thankfully the war kept that from happening. In the next one, the Mistress Must Go. Ms. Rivers, I read with interest your June interview in Acting Age. While your conception and portrayal of the Mistress of Mystery has always been above reproach, I hope you understand that many of us feel the name Mistress is an unnecessarily sexualized and loaded term in our patriarchal culture. On behalf of modern women everywhere, we hope you will join our petition to change the name of the character to the Sister of Secrets. Sincerely yours, Pauline J. Smith. Man, they're even in fiction. Backing out of fan mail, we can move to Personal Journal. Personal Journal Volume 17. Wow, she was a diary writer. Her journal goes back all the way to June 28th. Back from LA. Season 8 was spectacular, but the mood at our wrap party was rather down. There's been no word on renewal yet. All of the attention at Hubris seems to be on television these days. They have less and less interest in radio. Frederick and Olivia are doing well. Olivia was all packed for our annual camping trip to Seneca Rocks, but I've had to put her off. The poor dear was heartbroken. I do hate to break our tradition, but with the Silver Shroud show coming up, I simply can't spare the time. Alright, so Olivia must be her daughter, and I suppose that makes Frederick her husband. They had a yearly tradition of camping at Seneca Rocks, but at this point she thought she was going on the show, so she likely had a bunch of work commitments. The very next day, this morning, Frederick asked me to put on my costume veil and come down to the front parlor. He said he had a surprise for me. It's incredible. His little project is beyond anything the writers ever dreamed of. That man really can do anything. It's no wonder I love him. My calendar for the next 3 months is booked solid. He's hired the best stunt actors, martial artists, military trainers, a cavalcade of experts, one after another, to make sure I master every technique I'll need for the screen. I don't know who they have playing the Shroud, but the Mistress of Mystery will be ready for her debut. Oh no! She began training even before she was chosen for the role. But what was it that Frederick showed her? What was it that so astounded her? Was it in the parlor? And why did she have to wear her veil? The next entry comes on October 6th. I'm heading out to Boston for rehearsals and the first round of filming. I've never been more ready for a role in my life. Frederick's busy with his projects again. Olivia's tutors say she's doing well. She should ace her university exams. I'd expect nothing less. She's a bright girl. She has a great future ahead of her. Let's find out what happened at Boston by reading October 22nd. Babowski played me for a fool. After a week of dress rehearsals, he called me in to say they'd made other arrangements for the role of the Mistress. It wasn't hard to figure out who. He had a portrait of Claire Riddell, that airbrain strumpet, on his desk. He was planning this all along. I gave that bastard a piece of my mind. I've been the voice of the Mistress of Mystery for 26 years. It's the role I cared about most, the character I championed every time creative tried to set up another love triangle or damsel in distress plot. And now I'm being cut out. Vivi says corporate's already in talks to hire Riddell for next season's serials. Damn them. And the penny dropped too late. But she wrote this the day before the bombs dropped. I suppose that means she made it back to West Virginia before the bombs. We'll find out on the very next day, the 23rd, the day the bombs dropped. It's amazing what a day can do to your sense of perspective. I'm so glad to be home. Frederick and Olivia are here. They're safe. Everything else we can work out. But it doesn't stop there. It keeps going. July 8th, 2078. I'm still shaking. When the weather finally broke, we made for Charleston to replenish our supplies. On the way back, we were accosted by hooligans on the road. Frederick tried to pay them off some fresh water, a few $100s. They just laughed. When they laid hands on Olivia, something in me snapped. I don't think they expected the old hag to put up a fight, but my training just took over. I didn't even hesitate. In less than a minute, they were all laid out on the ground. I think a couple of them were dead. The very next day, we had a long talk about the incident. I expected Olivia to be as frightened as I was, but she was exhilarated, like I was suddenly a real hero. She wants me to train her. I wish it wasn't necessary, but Frederick had a point. The world has changed. We won't be around forever. One way or another, she has to learn to defend herself. But is that enough? What kind of future does she have if the world has fallen to pieces? And what about girls who don't have anyone to stand up for them? It begins! Over a month later, August 21st, I've been venturing out dressed as the mistress. It still feels a bit silly, but the costume is an excellent disguise. And strange as it sounds, it makes a difference. Another group of ruffians cornered some refugees on the road from Lewisburg when their caravan broke down in the mud. I don't know how I'd react to that, but after all these years, I know how the mistress would. And that confidence works. I saved them. Frederick and Olivia are rather taken with the idea. Frederick has been working all day and night on new tools for me to try, and Olivia is focused on her training. She wants to be a mistress of mystery just like me. A little less than 3 months later, November 11th, this morning, Frederick heard someone in the garage rifling through the garbage. 3 someones, actually. Clarissa, Eve, and Amy. Girls not even Olivia's age. All orphans. It broke my heart. Frederick and I talked it over, and we've decided to take them in. Winter is coming on, and they need somewhere to stay. We've food and space to share. I can't bear to let a child suffer if there's anything to be done about it. So she's fighting crime and bringing in orphans now? Is this a saint or something? But let's see how that went for her. In spring of the next year, April 29th, spring has finally come, such as it is. Every day, caravans of refugees pass by the house, whole families, carrying everything they have. Old men, children, it's horrible. So many children have no one left. A few have been brave enough to come up to the house. I can't turn them away. I never in my life imagined running an orphanage, but what else can I do? We had Olivia move her things out to the guest house, so the new girls can take the rooms on this floor. I'm going to clear out the study and move into my suite downstairs. At this rate, we'll need all the room we can get. Suite downstairs? Wait a minute. We fully explored downstairs and we didn't find a suite. Well, maybe we missed something. And this gives us more context for Olivia's terminal that we found in the burned wing. That was the guest house, where she moved after her mother began to adopt orphans from the wasteland. But why is it the only wing of this building that was burned? Why is it in such greater disrepair than the rest of the manor? And why is her terminal locked? But first, to finish exploring this level, we find a hole in the wall to the west. Moving out of the office, we arrive in a large bedroom filled with bunk beds. This must have been the orphanage. And sure enough, on the dressers and bedside tables, we find toys, bobby pins. We find one first aid kit, and on a desk to the northwest, we find the guest bedroom terminal. Riverside Manor, guest bedroom. In the first one, Ms. Rivers reminds me of my grandma. She seems all stern and serious, but when you're alone with her, she's really nice. Cora and I had a hard time after Grandma died. I'm glad Ms. Rivers was willing to take us in. I'm glad to have a family again. Alexis. In the next one, chores. Remember, everyone is expected to help out with chores around the house. The sign-up sheet goes up on the fridge at 6 every morning. No one is too young, too old, or too busy. If you aren't sure how to do something, ask one of the older girls to show you. We need everyone to do their part. Eve. P.S. Do not allow Mr. Rivers to sign up for cooking duty again. The last time he did, it took us 3 days to air out the common room. Well, at least Frederick was willing to help. Guess he should stay in his shop, though. In the next one, wanna trade? Anyone wanna trade beds? Sarah snores. I'll even take the couch. Gotta be better than this. Zoe. In the next one, sick days. Winter is coming up, and that means it's cold season. There are a lot of people in this house, so we need to do everything we can to keep colds from spreading. No one wants another dysentery outbreak. Oh, really? Oh. We're going to use the corner bedroom as our sick ward again this year. If you're not feeling well, check in with Elena or me. We'll move your things over and have your food brought up to you. Wash your hands, drink plenty of water, and get some rest. If things get worse, call me. Natasha. And in the final one, Olivia? Anyone seen Olivia? She was supposed to be my partner this afternoon, but I haven't been able to find her anywhere. This is the third time this month she's ditched me. I'm getting tired of this. Bridget. Huh. Could it be that Olivia was kind of jealous that her mom and dad were taking in all these other girls? Or did she have a bit of a superiority complex being the daughter of the mistress of mystery? Maybe she adopted a bit of an attitude. Next to the terminal, we find a Skills Zero locked safe. Moving west, we find a bathroom, mostly empty, save for a mirror above the sink. And that's about it for the bedrooms. Heading through the eastern door puts us again back on that balcony overlooking the parlor. And now we can take this staircase downstairs to try and find her other room that Shannon Rivers talked about in the terminal. She said she had another room on the ground floor, but we didn't see one while exploring earlier. On the way down, we can unlock a Skill 1 locked suitcase. We don't see much down here, so we gotta remember the clues we were given. The biggest clue we have is that one terminal entry where Shannon says her husband asked her to come downstairs for a surprise. He gave her the surprise in the downstairs front parlor, and he specifically asked her to wear her veil. Well, now we've got this worn veil that we found on the corpse. Could it be the same? Well, putting it on, we can make our way to the front parlor to see if something happens. Not seeing any doors. Maybe it's a hidden bookcase. Anyone see a bookcase? I'm not seeing a bookcase. Maybe it's behind the fireplace. No, nothing by the fireplace. Maybe one of these portraits. Pulling on a portrait? No. It was the privacy screen. Of course. Why would a privacy screen be covering a wall? Because there's a door on the other side of it. Note that this door only opens if we're wearing the worn veil that we found on the corpse of the young woman. Heading through the door, we find a staircase leading down. Oh, Fred, what did you make for your wife? Heading down the stairs. Really? The lasers are blue, so I think we're safe. Otherwise, it'll be Jamaica playing all over again. Moving forward.
Please proceed to a terminal for registration.
It's an underground hidden secret hero lair. A training bunker. That was the surprise Fred made for his wife, but after the war, Shannon Rivers turned the mistress of mystery into a real post-apocalyptic superhero. With that, we complete the quest Into the Mystery, and we begin the quest, The Initiate of Mysteries. This base is chocked full of lore and answers quite a few questions for us, like where did they get the money to build it? And how did an actress gain access to all of this technology? But sadly, we're out of time today. We'll answer all of these questions in our next episode. If you don't want to miss it, be sure to subscribe and to click that bell notification button. I publish many lore videos like this each and every week, and I also stream multiple live streams every week. I usually broadcast in the morning Pacific time, so feel free to subscribe or just stop on by to catch me live. I have a shirt shop with completely unique shirts you can't find anywhere else. My designs come on shirts in a variety of men's, women's, and children's sizes, and in a wide array of colors. They come on other products as well, like smartphone cases, stickers, mugs, pillows, posters, prints, etc. So if interested, you can find a link to my shop in the description below, or you can click here. If you like what I do and you want to support me in a more personal way, consider becoming one of my patrons on Patreon or a member here on YouTube. But more than anything, I'm just so glad you're here watching this video with me today. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you soon this week with episode 2 in the Order of Mysteries.